With Garden Warfare 2 turning 10 years old in 2026, I thought I should go big. Do I rank every single character? Nah, because I'd be accused of not only plagiarism, but probably treason for not ranking your favourite character where you want them to be, so I thought I'd have a look at the abilities. This encompasses every ability in the game for the regularly playable characters, and I'm including abilities within abilities, on the condition that they are contained within a transformed version of the character. Or to simplify, Citron, Ball and all mech abilities are counted, but not drone abilities. Abilities that are pure reskins will be ranked alongside their vanilla counterparts, with 3 exceptions, as you'll find out. And lastly, exploits and glitches that were unintended to be in the game will not be accounted for, so an ability won't automatically place higher just because you can fly out of Moonbase Z with it. I'm Golden Ninja Vlogspot, please like, please subscribe, and let's get on with it. Coming in dead last is Multi-Shock. I was debating between the bottom two, but ultimately decided that this overpriced, overhyped abomination takes the turd flavoured cake, because it is a downgrade to Shock Shot in every sense. The damage is abysmal, it's very inaccurate so it isn't effective outside of close quarters combat. I previously defended its use in said scenarios, but even then, the regular shot can be used at melee range for a cheesy kill and as more splash. It sucks! Second last is Red Artichoke. Why they felt the need to give the Garlic Drone 3 alternatives is beyond me. And this one looks cool but has little use over any of the others. It has a few minor plus sides over the standard drone, namely faster flight speed and longer overheat time, but this is all moot when its damage is pathetic. Also, its corn strike is horrendous. It's an amalgamation of the Garlic and Artichoke's airstrikes, which deploys 3 weak horns and doesn't have a particularly fast recharge time, so can't be spammed. Third last is Armoured Heal Station. This is used a lot more than the bottom two, but that's because the description is literal false advertising. In reality, its self-destruction time is the same as the standard heal stations, but it heals much slower to the point that extra health isn't a good trade-off at all. The only real saving grace is that you can stand on it to evade a burrow, which can't be done with a standard station in this game due to the screwy physics, despite it being possible in Garden Warfare 1, but overall it's the worst zombie ability in GW2. 109 is Super P Jump, the definition of an ability that would be good if it wasn't so redundant. The jump isn't that much higher than Hyper's, but the speed boost is completely gone, so there is zero reason to use it over Hyper, especially as mobility is such an essential part of peashooter's playstyle. 108 is Water Cyclone. The first mech ability on the list, the difference between this and the Shrimp Mech's primary and other ability is night and day. It just pushes a small cyclone that knocks plants back slightly and deals a small amount of damage. It can unroot Gatlings and Sunbeams, but so can the Shrimp Jump. 107 is the Looty Booty Barrel Blast. The first of the 3 reskins that differs from its vanilla counterpart. This is an abject downgrade because you get less armour. And yet, it was the first ability I bought from Roxas back in the day because I didn't know any better. Interestingly, if you have the Looty one equipped, this is reflected in the pirate's barrel balance gesture. That's pretty cool. 106 is Sprint Burrow. Faster movement than the burrow, but you come out much faster. And I've always found it incredibly difficult to score a swallow with Sprint Burrow. While the mobility side of it can be good, I prefer being sneaky, and being under for like 2 seconds isn't exactly optimal for sneakiness. Just use the regular one. 105 is Shield Decoy. You get 4 instead of 2, but the trade-off is that they're extremely wimpy. Wouldn't recommend. 104 is Retro Gatling. While it was never really a good idea to run this on Garden Warfare 1, it does have better accuracy on the original game, but for some reason on GW2, they buffed the better one and left the Retro Gatling as it is, so it's stupidly outclassed. Shame because that muzzle is pretty dope. 103 is the Psychedelic Goat. Stay away from drugs, kids. But in this case there's minimal adverse effects, as although you have limited vision and control over your character when put in the stinky trance, it only lasts 5 seconds compared to the regular Goat Fire's 7 seconds. This doesn't sound like too much of a drawback, but is it really worth giving Rux 500 grand for this? 102 Proximity Sonic Mine. This just might be the most forgettable ability in the game, and it's honestly not bad by definition. Having 3 Sonic Mines that you place down as opposed to throw out sounds pretty damn good, and it is very burrow proof, but it relies on your enemies to run into them, while with a grenade you can stun an enemy at close range with a press of a button. Basically, think of why Imp Hunt is better than Potato Mine. But at least if an enemy runs into a rogue potato mine, they will die as long as they have 175 health or less. But if an enemy runs into a rogue sonic mine, you may get a stun assist, but that's it. An ability that scores low mainly because of how good the standard one is. In room 101 we have the potato nugget mine. Speaking of downgraded trap abilities, this is a weaker version of the potato mine that allows more to be planted. They also arm quicker than the standard mines, but it's not instantaneous, and while I can see this being useful in ops, it's essentially turning an instant kill into a non-instant kill, and in my eyes is a considerable drop down. Cracking the top 100 is Chomp Cannon. This is a good idea with bad execution. It gives Chomper a range attack, and is supposed to act like ZPG or more accurately Super Ultra Ball, but it's ineffective at range, and even if you do get the hit, it only does 100 damage, so it can only one-shot 2 classes. Also, for some reason, it's the only new alternate ability in Garden Warfare 2 to be obtained from Wondrous Pack, and the rest were obtained from Lux or the Deluxe Edition. 99 is Turbo Twister. The first default non-mech ability, it was formerly an overpowered instant killer, but they reworked it by reducing its damage a lot and made it more of a getaway tool that gives them armor and a speed boost. While the armor is nice, the speed boost is kind of irrelevant when Heroic Kick exists. 98 is Tall Nut Battlement. Poor Cactus. She was saddled with fairly subpar abilities from the get-go. This is one of those abilities that was clearly designed for defense and was more optimal in GW1, but now with plants and zombies having equal splits of attack and defense, not so much, and the battlements don't do a good job of protecting the Cactus unless you're at proper long range, and you can't shoot and hide at the same time. I wouldn't say this ability is useless, as you do get 2 of them which can cover a decent area, and there's some extra traits such as using them as steps, but this is pretty lackluster compared to her zombie counterpart's defensive ability. 97 is Spiky Spikeweed. Spikeweed that does more damage but you get less charges. Unlike with the potato mine, the extra ammunition is more of a benefit, as the main selling point of the Spikeweed isn't its damage, it's that it sets up a zombie to get swallowed or bitten to death. If you do get a rogue Spikeweed kill, cool, but 3 weeds are better than 2. Also, that is clearly Tangle Kelp, not a Spikeweed. 96 is Peg Leg Carter. Imp Carter on steroids. Though it's much worse in my humble opinion, as while its damage is decent, the range isn't as good as Imp Carter's and it leaves Scallymechs super vulnerable to Gallings and EM Peaches, especially as you can't cancel mid ability. Still though, it can have some use, and at this point we've gotten past all of the bad abilities. 95 is Energy Warp. A precursor to Arcane Enigma, except without the attack or ability to jump. Its most infamous use is to achieve the final objective of Walnut Hills, so at least it got more mileage when the map was added to GW2, and I found use to avoid obnoxious Pogo Ps. But it's so slow compared to Warp and strips Scientist of his mobility. 94 is Biotic Pull. This ability for the Z7 mech can pull a plant towards you, which sounds good, but walls and obstacles can easily get in the way, and it doesn't recharge very quickly, so if you miss locking on, you have to wait for a bit. It gets props for being unique compared to other mech abilities, and it can unburrow chompers. 93 is Artichoke Drone. This variation of the drone has more health but a weaker primary. It also drops a single corn that recharges quickly, which is handy for targeting a single zombie, but the regular airstrike is generally better in objective-based game modes, and overall I think this drone is a bit of a downgrade. 92 is Super Multi-Ball. The definition of an ability only good on a particular variant. This can destroy groups when used on a toxic brainz and overload. Otherwise, well, better read the diary of a wimpy ability. I guess only one of the Deluxe Edition abilities could be good. 91 is Dark Flower. An ability that is more annoying than it is good. And it's not bad, but it does remove your self-healing, which is a huge drawback. At least the shared vanquishes mean you don't lose out on XP if the crafty red flower gets the kill. In fact, they added a specific XP gain for scoring a kill with her, which is a nice quality of life change. 90 is Future Dummy. Now, I have a soft spot for this ability. As someone who doesn't like the dummy shield that much, I do like the addition of damage, and it's very satisfying when you do score a kill, but there's no doubt having only one charge isn't a good trade-off for an explosion that doesn't do much damage. There is a pretty good imp pun combo you can do with it though. 89 is Pizzazzling Potato Mine. The second bling ability to be ranked separately from its clone, this one's shiny and cool, which means they're much easier to spot and therefore making them a downgrade. At least it is likely to kill someone who is dumb enough to walk into them. 88 is Zombie Sting Cloud. A pretty underwhelming third ability for the foot soldier, but it is useful for chip damage and for blinding enemies at a point. It can also be a visual obstruction for you and your teammates, which is annoying. While the alternate ability is an upgrade, this one is easier to complete a specific quest with and is generally my only real use for it. 87 is Gotify. Another ability that sounds a lot better than it is. This does weaken your enemies, but it also makes them small, quite fast and hard to see in the midst of a chaotic fight. It is good to neutralise dangerous abilities such as Barrel Blast and can cancel legendary modes. Also, it's always bothered me that killing a zombie while Gotified nullified the XP gained. At least they fixed this on Battle for Neighbourville. 86 is Butter Barrage. This is an airstrike ability for the corn that drops damaging butter in an X-shaped formation. It's a very mid ability that gets completely outclassed by its other counterpart, but that one is locked behind a paywall, so it gets a pass. 85 is Super Sticky Goop. An ability that sounds top notch on the surface as it sticks the opponent in place as opposed to the standard goop which allowed the enemy to move slightly. So why is it pretty low on the list? Well, this is something I didn't realise until recently. The SSG does not reduce the opponent's look sensitivity, so the advantage of the enemy having more difficulty evading the situation is somewhat nullified when they can fight back more easily. Add to that the longer recharge, lack of status damage, and I'm pretty sure it has less splash too. It's mostly a downgrade. That being said, I do find it useful on the chompers that get a buff after swallowing a zombie. 84 is Multi-Rocket. An alternative of the ZPG that fires several small rockets with greater splash. Its overall damage is weaker and the fact it can't take out a Gatling is a huge drawback, but I think this ability is a lot better than people give it credit for and enjoy using it on tanky C. 83 is Super Sting Cloud. Sting Cloud with more damage. It has a higher cooldown as well as a slightly smaller radius and duration, but the improved chip damage puts it above the vanilla counterpart. 82 is Jackhammer. A decent mobility tool for engineer that increases his speed and jump height, and you can quickly clear toolnuts with it and even the coconut cannons in Walnut Hills. It's mostly outclassed by the turbo jackhammer, though its longer duration could be useful to give you longer burrow immunity. 81 is Tubular Turbo. The little known name for Hovergoat 3000's third ability, this is basically jackhammer but it also boosts the speed of allies nearby. Decent, but I wish it lasted longer. 80 is Rocket Jump. A rudimentary ability that for some reason got nerfed on this game despite its ult already being more powerful, as its jump height is decreased considerably. Still though, it's pretty good on a new account until you get the leap. 79 is Long Bomb. In terms of fun alternate abilities, this would be right up there. And it does have some utility, but it's very difficult to aim compared to the Impont, which thrives on simplicity and has better AoE. You can exploit the shorter fuse while kicking it against the wall to kill a nearby enemy, and the same can be done with a dummy shield, but it's definitely weaker than its vanilla counterpart. 78 is Iron Maiden. A tougher, bulkier version of the Toolnut Battlement, this supposed Toolnut, despite clearly being a walnut, offers more protection to the cactus. Though you only get one charge, it's still preferable in most cases. And despite its shape, it can still be used to get to areas you can't reach by yourself. Yeah, that's all I have to say about the Iron Maiden. That's all. Johnny! 77 is Dummy Shield. While I never thought this ability suited All-Star's playstyle, it can completely cover him and you get 2 charges, so it's better than all of Cactus's defensive abilities. 76 is Imp Carter. Kevin Carter? Sean Carter? No, Imp Carter is where it's at. Well, maybe if this ability was better. It's probably one of the most misused moves on the game. So many people think that this is best used after gravity grenading a foe, but in reality the reduced speed means you're much easier to hit, and the armour is helpful but can't be relied on. I tend to use it as a last resort if I run out of ammo in a fight, though it has some other uses such as taking out drones that fly too close, and alleviating status effect damage once you're safe from harm. At 75 and 74 we have the Zomni Blade and Robo Stomp. 2 melee abilities for the Z7 and stock mech respectively. The Zomni Blade does 5 more damage, but he can only attack enemies in front, while the Stomp can hit enemies all around him, so it gives Stomp a slight edge. 73 is Peel Shield. This ability, unlike the Cactus and All-Stars defensive abilities, is portable and you can attack enemies as normal without having to shoot around the shield. The only thing is, it's not very durable at all, only taking 75 damage. Its only advantage over its counterpart is that it lasts longer, but ever since they reworked the citrons to reduce their camping game, this doesn't feel like much of a benefit. Still, it's good until you shell out the 500k. 72 is Wing Flap. Peel Shield but with 25 more HP, and more importantly, not overshadowed by an alternative. Also gives him some momentary protection from gatlings. 71 is the super guided ultra ball. Unfortunately, this does take away his one good ranged attack, and by that I mean his only ranged attack. No, I'm not counting the beams. But it does more damage than the regular one, and it's pretty fun to use, even if it is slightly weaker overall. 70 is Potato Mine. While it shares the Toolnut's trait as a defense oriented ability, this is a good trap for unsuspecting foes. You might think that scoring a kill with this is rare, as zombies can easily shoot them away, but you'd be underestimating the amount of dumbasses in this game. 69 is Pylon Mine. Potato Mine, but you get 4 instead of 3. Only drawback is that it's exclusive to the Pylon mech, so don't get to use them as often, but a very useful tool for the mech. 68 is the Garlic Drone. While the bog standard drone does have an accuracy problem, low health, and its damage isn't great, it's a nice safe ability that you can use to strike from above, and is handy for dispatching campers. The airstrike is pretty good on objective points. Also, thankfully they patched the drones on this game so they don't instantly recharge on respawn. Keep your drone camping to GW1. Next is the Parapow. Very similar to the Garlic Drone, but it does slightly less damage, and its explosion drops all of its ammo at once. While the overall damage of the airstrike is less than the corn strike, the fact it's instantaneous means you're much more likely to score kills with it, so I'd give it the edge. Next is the Super Ultra Ball. SB's main ranged attack, it hits for 120 damage and does pretty good splash. The Hadouken is considerably weaker than the ZPG, and you can't zoom in while using it, so it's pretty inaccurate with a superhero's reticle, but it's a solid tool. 65 is Explosive Escape. The ability used by the imp to escape his mech, it can be manually activated, but it also auto-triggers if the mech runs out. It's not as good as the beam bombs as it can be destroyed, and everyone and their mother can see it going off. But it's definitely fun scoring kills with it, and using it in conjunction with Gravity Grenade can get you far. 64 is Arcane Enigma. An invincibility move that has a bonus attack. This attack is pretty weak, but can finish off damaged foes, especially imps, and it's pretty powerful with negros, so I personally use it on her. Otherwise, it's the Lotus effect for me. 63 is the Chili Bean Bomb. Unlike the other two peashooter abilities, which are overpowered as hell and have terrible alternatives, the standard Bean Bomb is overshadowed by the other two. Its long fuse isn't much of an issue, and its damage is enough to one-shot most zombies, but for some reason it recharges much slower than the other two, so I have it at the weakest Bean Bomb. Still though, a good starter ability, and it's useful in PvE as spawn zombies are attracted to it. 62 is the Spin Dash. The sole offensive move in the Citron's ball form, it's a copyright lawsuit waiting to happen, but it's a good damage dealer that can guarantee a shared vanquish on imps and scientists, and also knock the enemy back. It only has one charge and doesn't recharge very fast, but it's a fine one. 61 is Future Parrot. The extra health is a good trade-off for the slower speed, and the increased damage is cool, just like Robotic Polly herself. The airstrike has a slightly larger radius, but its initial charge time is 5 seconds longer than the standard Parrot's one, which I find is a surprisingly big drawback, but overall this is a contender for the best drone in the game. 60 is Dark Garlic Drone. This drone has excellent splash, which fixes the drone's big issue of being hard to aim, and also never overheats. That's pretty damn good. Its damage output is not great, and it will take a while to kill a 200 HP enemy, but the splash and infinite ammo make up for that. Its corn strike also differs in that the corns do less damage, but they drop faster and cover a wider radius. All in all, I'd say this barely pips Future Power at the best drone in the game. It's certainly not the best drone in the franchise though. 59 is the Mega Heal Bomb. This is an additional healing tool for the scientist that allows you and allies around it to heal 50 health. It feels pretty unreliable as a support tool, so I tend to just use it on myself because you peasants don't deserve my first aid. I usually have this equipped if I'm using heal beams, so I have a way of self-healing, but most of the time I prefer having the additional offensive weapon, the Sticky Explodey Ball. I know a lot of people think the heal bomb is better, but I think y'all sleep on my Sticky Explodey Balls just a bit. Its damage is solid, you can use them as traps or stick them to an enemy to guarantee that it damages them, or even stick them to an ally so they can run up to a plant and deal additional damage. I find it particularly helpful with a melee only scientist to help approach enemies. 57 is the Dark Bean Bomb. A beam bomb that detonates much quicker, and you get 2 of them that do 80 damage with very little area of effect, so it's like a fun-sized imp hunt. It's very good for dispatching imps and is arguably the best beam bomb in Team Vanquish, but in objective modes, I think the damage and especially the blast radius of the other two is preferred over the short fuse. 56 is Spikeweed. You ready for a chomper subsection of the list? First up is this spiky boy, who can be planted at an enemy's feet at close range, which basically gives you an easy kill. This sounds OP, and you get 3 of them, but the recharge is very long, and even with the instant recharge when a zombie is snared by one, you could be waiting for a while. A force to be reckoned with, though I'm still salty that they removed the hanging animation from the first game. 55 and 54 is Rainbow Warp and Warp. This is the scientist's signature ability, and also a unique ability for the rarest character in the game. It's pretty much the same with no major differences, a dash forward that helps close a gap and can be used as a getaway tool. I'll give Scientist Warp a very slight edge as I think it suits his kit better. 53 is Burrow, an ability that lives in infamy for being one of the most annoying ones in the game. It's questionable game design since it ignores health values and guarantees a kill on the victim, although this is particularly useful in PvE situations where the enemy is buffed, i.e. champions and ops. This ability's power is often contested as it is quite easy to counter, with Engineer having a hard counter and many other classes having escape tools, but there's a lot of scenarios where you can sneak up on an opponent and ruin their day. And it ensures they can't be revived. As a getaway option, it's pretty good as well, and I put it above Rainbow Warp for this reason. 52 is Twilight Warp. Basically, Rainbow Warp condensed into one charge as it covered the distance of 2 of them. This is pretty busted for closing the gap between you and an unsuspecting foe, though having only one charge holds them back a bit when it comes to escaping. 51 is Heroic Kick. To simplify, Twilight Warp with 2 charges and it deals damage. It used to only have 1 charge, but it dealt a lot more damage, but having 2 is a big improvement for the superhero's playstyle, and the knockback is pretty useful. 50 is Sombrero Beam Bomb. The strongest of the 3, this beam bomb has great AoE and massive damage. The long fuse makes it difficult to use at times, but there's a surprising amount of occasions where I've seen players wrongly assume it's a standard beam bomb and misjudge the timing. Also, the fact PopCap decided the game needed a Mexican caricature encompassed into the chili bean is just brilliant. 49 is Krusty Gigabomb. Sombrero beam bomb with a shorter fuse and slightly smaller blast radius. It also deals less damage, but 225 is still enough to kill all but 2 characters on the plant team, so this feels trivial. 48 is Bigger Better Butter. The superior pay to win ability, this can be thought of as a Sombrero beam bomb that is harder to spot, as all that's visible until the last second is the hot potato, which is easy to miss in a tough battle compared to the noise machine that is the SBB. The blast radius isn't as large, but goddamn, they did not need to give Colonel Corn 3 abilities that do insane damage. 47 is Sprint Tackle, now on the tackle section, and first up is All-Star's second ability. This is going to spark debate, which we'll get onto shortly, but this is a very brain dead ability. Run into opponents to deal very solid damage and knock them back, which leaves them briefly vulnerable so you can finish them off with your primary. 46 and 45 are the Drag Race and Dragon Swoop. These mech abilities are basically the same as one another and the Sprint Tackle. I put the Dragon Swoop slightly higher as the Drake mech having a dash move is more beneficial due to his slow speed, whereas Pylon is the fastest mech anyway. 44 is Ultra Tackle. This variation of Sprint Tackle deals 90 damage instead of 75, but takes 45 seconds to recharge instead of 30 for the regular tackle. This doesn't sound like a good trade-off, but with an ability like Sprint Tackle, the more damage the better in my eyes, and the regular tackle's recharge isn't exactly quick. The Ultra also travels a further distance and is often quite laggy, but weirdly the lag actually seems to benefit more than it detracts. Overall I think it's the better of the 2, but not by a long shot. 43 is the Drake mech. The first of many mechs is quite high because, well, it's an ability that allows you to transform into an ultra tank that does high damage, but being melee only definitely holds it back, and while his abilities do help, he's very susceptible to gatlings and basically anyone at a safe range. Still though, even at the worst mech, it's a very solid ability. 42 is Barrel Blast. This ability gives the pirate 75% armor and allows him to blow up and deal heavy damage to nearby plants. This is a great defense tool if you're in the middle of a fight to give you protection, and if the enemy has no mobility tools available, you're likely to get a free kill on them. While it is often quite easy to counter, this is a very strong ability that makes the Spud Mine look like a chump. 41 is Time Snare. A stun tool for the Rose, this allows you to briefly immobilise an enemy. This is a little lackluster compared to other stuns, as the duration isn't very long and it deals no damage, but it's a good part of Rose's kit that meshes well with her homing. 40 is Arcane Lotus. A variation of Arcane Enigma, the Lotus doesn't last as long and does not have an attack, but it heals yourself and allies. This is great for a couple of reasons. It makes Rose feel like more of a support character, and the self-healing is a great asset due to her frailty. The lack of damage is a minor setback, but unlike with a scientist's third ability, I think losing Rose's only other offensive attack is a worthy trade in this case. It's one of the best Rock's abilities. 39 is Hyperball. A simple speed boost for Citron, this is basically hardcore balling. Very effective, but the speed boost gets cancelled if you go into assault mode. 38, Cannon Rodeo. A mounted ability that differs from the rest, it fires 6 slow explosive shots. The direct damage is a satisfactory 50 and the splash is pretty good, especially for objective points. 37 is Vampweed. This version of Spikeweed trades damage for healing, which is much better. Going back to what I said about spiky Spikeweed, the damage isn't that much of a big deal with the weeds. Snaring an enemy with one and then swallowing them is a great way to heal and score a kill on the fly, and unless you're on full health you will always gain something if a zombie runs into a rogue one when you're not there, while the Spikeweeds will only deal damage that could get you a shared in some cases, but it isn't guaranteed. 36 is Scallywag Mech. Having the spiritual successor of the Zombot Plankwalker at the second lowest mech ability is probably a storm in a teacup, as it's one of the most fun mechs, with 2 primary that fuse Chemist and Captain Cannon sensibilities, as well as abilities based on wands of the peashooter and imp, and the damage and HP are pretty good. The thing is, this thing is catnip to Gatlings and Sunbeams. 1, it's so huge that even Chris McCausland couldn't miss it. 2, it has nothing to help protect you from the Gatlings. At least Drake has a shield and dash, and the range attack isn't good enough to combat them. Also, I wish Scallywag Imp's jingle would play when you're in the mech, but maybe that's just me. 35 is Pylon Mech. Sticking with a mech theme, this mech had the least health but the fastest speed. Its primary is solid, the abilities are quite good, but it has a lack of crowd game compared to the other mechs, especially with its lower health. Don't underestimate it though, this mech can pack a punch. 34 is the Bling Pylon Mech. The final reskin to be ranked separately, this mech deals 5 more damage than the regular one. It's questionable if it's really worth blowing 500k on an ability for just one character, but this is a direct upgrade over the regular Pylon Mech. 33 is Mega Awesome Laser. As much as I'll forever hate how goofy this name is compared to the coolness of Radical Ray Gun, this move is a powerful one. Acting like a sunbeam that can move, albeit slowly and with less damage, and since he isn't stationary, the meter will drain even when not firing. Not too shabby on the whole though. And 32 is the sunbeam itself. The sunflower roots and shoots a very damaging beam. It gives you armor and is pretty accurate, and you can accompany the turret with a heal flower to increase your survivability, although a big fat head makes them extremely vulnerable to ZPGs. 31 is Turbo Jackhammer. Jackhammer but faster and lasts longer. This ability was pretty rubbish in GW1, but they buffed it on this game and it's pretty much always the better choice. Certain engineer players will develop a bad habit of using this ability as soon as they spawn in, like yours truly. 30 is Blaze and Blast. The lowest torchwood ability, and is still pretty cracked. The barbecue tree man breathes fire in an area in front of him that can basically insta-kill anyone at melee range, and it has added fire damage, so even if they escape your clutches, there's a chance they'll die anyway. This fire breath can outmatch a Drake mech, can be paired with Leaf Shield, and also only has a 15-second recharge, so you can use it a lot. Just watch out for the speed reduction, which can hinder you at times. 29 is the Damage Buff Booster Beam. A bit of a mouthful to say, but the DBBB, now that sounds like a knockoff Australian radio station I would avoid, is a useful support tool that increases the damage of an ally. It has 0 cooldown, so there's no drawback to using it, though it's not an ability that will set the world on fire. Good asset though, especially in ops. 28 is the Heal Beam of Science. This would be right up there, if it wasn't for the fact its slot is competing with a self-heal tool, as otherwise it's just like the OG Heal Beam. Good for playing support scientists though, and you can always stick on the heal bomb if you need to replenish your own HP while helping others, but the fact the game gives you the heal station from the start, despite this being the default ability, has got a sting for anyone who's hoping this class will be confined to a support role. 27 is Gravity Grenade. The Imp Stun ability, it sends enemies up into a gravitational field which disables their ability use. They can still fight back with their primary, which means peashooters in particular have a decent chance of still winning the fight, but the ability to pull multiple enemies at once makes this a force to be reckoned with, and you can throw it pretty far. It also cancels several abilities, such as mounted abilities. Unfortunately, chompers are safe from the grenade the second they activate Burrow, but a very good and very irritating ability. 26 is Mood Shield. The direct upgrade shield, this is twice the HP of the standard Peel Shield. it only lasts 8 seconds, but the shield's health is likely to be largely depleted during the fight anyway, especially since citrons specialise up close, and the extra trait of the shield changing colour to indicate how much HP it has remaining is a nice addition in order to plan your next move in advance. 25 is Big Bolt Blaster. While I'll always hold a grudge against this ability for replacing the rocket drone, and therefore the Zombot drone, it's better for Engineer's playstyle. It's not as grossly accurate as the Gatling, but it has slightly higher DPS, and the turret gives him hitbox protection as well as armour. Just watch out for shock shots and you can blast away. 24 is Lee Shield. Hey, wouldn't it be great if the 275 HP character had even more health? That's what PopCap said when designing this ability. Massive improvement over the weak shield wielded by certain weeds. This is like a citron shield that gives the torchwood additional armour from all directions and allows him to survive as EPG. It does reduce the speed, but all in all it's the best defensive ability in the game. 23 is Shrimp Jump. A mobility tool for the shrimp mech, and a great one at that. It jumps up, swoops down to deal damage, and you get 2 charges. There's few things scarier than suddenly seeing this thing jumping in your line of sight. 22 is Rocket Leap. Arguably the most important pack ability in the game, this propels the soldier forward as well as up. Not as high as the rocket jump, but he travels considerably further and gets 2 charges. It's marginally above the shrimp jump as the motion is faster, and you can still use this to get on top of many buildings. 21 is Heal Flower. The essential self-healing source for Sunflower, the repurposed marigold spawns sundrops that you can collect to replenish your HP and keep you alive in a fight or restore your health after surviving one. The Heal Flower only has 75 health and it despawns in 30 seconds, and waiting for more drops can be annoying, but it's a key component of Sunflower's arsenal. Going into the top 20 now, and first is the Z7 mech. A mech that is often overlooked just because of how powerful the imp himself is. The Z7 mech may have pretty forgettable abilities, but the Z8 Avenger's damage is just ridiculous. It's basically the Robo Laser but even more damaging, and is a contender for the best primary weapon out of all of the mechs. Also it's useful for giving your trigger finger a break. 19 and 18 are Shockshot and ZPG. 2 beloved abilities that fire a huge nuclear projectile that can insta-kill pretty much everything it touches with a direct hit, and are the #1 counter for rooted attacks. It can also be used to cheese a fight if someone's getting up in your grill. ZPG is the better of the 2 across the board, as it can deal 300 damage, while Shockshot, quote, only deals 250 damage, and the 2 separate shocks of the shot can split off, resulting in only one hitting the target, but even then 125 damage is nothing to scoff at. 17 is Huskop, the infamous Huskop. This move has been the fear of all zombies since 2016. While it can be used to get onto high ground similar to Rocket Leap, it's most frequently and effectively used offensively, because this thing can deal an insane amount of damage if concentrated in a small area. It's held back a little by the fact it's a bit unreliable, but more often than not, this is a get out of jail free card. 16 is Rainbow Flower. This ability also has false advertising in its description, but in a good way, as this ability is a slight upgrade over the regular one. She drops 1 drop at a time, but drops more frequently, so while you don't get the initial healing burst, you get a more fluid healing, and she drops more in total. It does beg the question if spending 500k for a mild upgrade is really worth it, but this is Sunflower's best third ability. 15 is EM Peach. Originating from Plants vs Zombies 2, this ability is Citron's not so secret weapon. It stuns the enemy for a couple of seconds and also deals chip damage. This matches the class's hit and run playstyle perfectly, it's pretty much a guaranteed fight winner. 14 is the Zombie Heal Station. Well, considering the scientist no longer has access to an overpowered variant unlocked from the start, this ability shoots up on the list. It seems comparable to the Rainbow Flower due to its constant healing, but it's better in 2 ways. First of all, it has 25 more health, and secondly, and more importantly, it can heal multiple zombies at once. This can heal anyone up close no matter how many zombies are standing next to it, so you don't have to compete with teammates to regain your HP. 13 is Smouldering Madness. Similar to the Mega Awesome Laser, but with fire damage and increases speed rather than decreasing it. This ability is pretty OP, but the meter does drain when moving, so the speed increase isn't a huge benefit. And he's still vulnerable to those pesky ZPGs. But the fact PopCap gave this guy 3 abilities that are pretty overpowered is madness. Smouldering Madness. 12 is Missile Madness, and the madness doesn't end here. Honest to God, that was a coincidence. The highest mech ability on the list, this basically wipes out anything in front of you, firing missiles that deal 400 cumulative damage and with splash. This is perfect for demolishing greaser plants and can even effectively fight back against rooted attacks. Just about missing out on the top 10 is the shrimp mech. Some people consider this the best mech. And it does possess the best mobility, no doubt, and its primary literally homes in on nearby plants. It does have two weaknesses. One ability is complete booty cheeks, and it also doesn't last as long as most other mechs. Of course, the pure power more than makes up for these minor drawbacks, and also helps it has a smaller hitbox than the other mechs. The pink thing is pretty cracked. Into the top 10, and first is the heal beam. Simple, no cooldown at all, heal a teammate. Its healing isn't incredibly quick, so there's a chance it won't protect the ally from even winning a one-on-one fight, but considering how disgusting it is on BFN, that's probably a good thing. Number 9 is Solar Flare Beam. As well as being a frequently goon-to character from heroes by the degenerate goblins of the community, this bright glowy green version of the Sunbeam deals insane damage, and unlike the regular one, it has zero recoil. That's extremely broken for an ability like this, and the damage combined with the laser accuracy means this will probably deal the most consistent damage out of all the mounted abilities. It does have the drawbacks of less ammo and a delay when firing, which means you can just about miss out on getting a kill, but this is a truly overpowered ability. 8 is P-Gatling, the classic P-Gatling. Solar Flare Beam with more DPS and a bit of recoil, but not enough to prevent this from being a broken AF tool, as you can camp from galaxies away with this thing. It had the obvious weakness of being vulnerable to ZPGs, which is probably the most infamous counter in the game, but there's a reason why a lot of soldier players prioritise taking out Gatlings. 7 is Citron Ball. An essential tool for the Citron that he can freely transform into any time, giving him great mobility. It only has one offensive move, the Spin Dash, so staying in your ball isn't very effective for scoring kills, but it is great for objectives, most notoriously Herbal Assault. Also, the Party Citron had the Party Citron Ball, which looks cool, but it means you can't customise his tattoos. Regardless, keep rolling, 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 rolling. 6 is the Sonic Grenade. This stun grenade is perhaps overlooked because it is on one of the least played classes, but it goes above the other stuns by not only immobilising the enemy and disabling its abilities, but prevents them from even using their primary for a couple of seconds. Add with this the ability to force chompers out of burrow and you've got a top tier ability. 5 is the Z-Mech. Yep, the regular Z-Mech cracks the top 5. While its primary weapon isn't quite as powerful with the Z7 mechs, it's still brutal, plus missile madness and a pretty solid stomp attack too. 4 is Goop, a stun ability even more powerful than the grenade. It stops enemies in their tracks and leaves them vulnerable to being swallowed or chomped to death, reduce their look sensitivity, you add one job super sticky Goop, and deals a bit of damage. The projectile also has pretty long range, and you'll be surprised how frequently you can actually score kills with it. Oh, and did I mention that it has a cooldown of only 7 seconds? This putrid purple substance is quite simply OP. Bronze medal goes to Impunt. This can only really be described as an instant win button since it deals 150 damage and has a very short fuse, so it's difficult to dodge. Its radius is pretty short, but it can score multi-kills quite easily, and combine it with sprint tackle and you can destroy numerous plants within mere seconds. Silver medal goes to Party Mech. This looks like a mere reskin of the OG mech, but its primary weapon does more damage. In fact, its DPS is higher than Z7 mechs. It only lasts 50 seconds, which is the shortest out of any mech, but it recharges quicker than the normal one and therefore can be used more often. Also, for some reason they mix up the reticles of the Party Imp and his mech, which makes the mech more accurate than the standard one. Oh, and also the music! And one last thing, it's a good safety tool for the Imp to help preserve his meter. And the gold medal, the best ability in the whole game is... Hyper. Love it or hate it, and you probably feel both ways. This ability has always been top tier. You can think of it as a jackhammer with insane jump height, a multi-use rocket jump with a speed boost. You can get onto higher ground, get up close to an enemy, run away if things are looking rough. Dare I say, become a Pogo P in which you can easily rain down on your enemies and you're hard to hit because you're already the smallest plant class and now you're jumping up and down. While this is best done with splash pea shooters, it's still pretty effective with Agent, Law and Commando if your shot is on point. You can also use it to throw your beam bombs further. All in all, this is GW2's strongest ability.